and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. It is I, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter extraordinaire, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zach Primetime Reeb. We're midday, and I am joined by the big shirtless polar bear himself, the podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, how are you doing? Midday, summertime, no school.
That's it, man. No school, out by the pool. What else can I say that can rhyme with that? Feeling cool,
Fool.
all that stuff. Don't be a fool.
Drill.
Yeah, man. We were having a conversation. You're like, what are you doing right now? You're not working, right? I was like, no, I'm getting ready to get in the pool. Like, all right, man. Well, go dunk yourself in the pool and then give me a holler. So here we are. I just barbecued some hot dogs too.
Oh man, are you gonna eat one of those live on the Going Over podcast?
I was just eating. So I'm just backed up to the grill. Hopefully I don't barbecue my back here. Just got the dogs off the grill for the kids and ready to rock and roll, man.
And the dogs are barking in the background. It's gonna be a bad day for Callie and Roscoe Reeb. Yeah. That's what the name tag says. You say, "Whoa, sliding around here." You say, "Hey Zach, if you had kids, what would you name them? Would it be Callie and Roscoe?" No, I would actually name my son Duncan. Duncan Hines Reeb. That would be his name. And Annalise Reeb. Annalise and Duncan Hines would be their names. And boy, would they be amazing professional wrestlers. And speaking of, here we are with another episode. A lot of stuff has been going on in the professional wrestling world. I just saw Shotzi Blackheart was at Hood Slam. I just saw Shotzi Blackheart was at GCW, power bombed through a glass table onto a poor guy underneath that glass shard table. And then I seen her on Ariel Helwani. And the most impressive part about this to me is just, the contract just expired, and then listening to her story on Ariel Helwani, it's like she just decided to do a death match tournament, and then she's back home at Hood Slam, and then she's on an airplane and wherever she's at, and she's on the big Ariel Helwani show. So she's getting busy. And I remember you saying something to me. You were talking about Carl Fredericks, and I remember you saying, like, when you get released or when your contract expires, either or, whatever way you look at it, you got to get out there, man. You gotta go, because that being hot like that, heading into the indies, coming back into the indies, excuse me, it can burn out fast, even if you jump on the iron while the iron's hot, you strike there, or if you wait some time, you could just fade away.
Yeah, I wonder, like, the mindset of that, because I remember, like, the different guys when they come back. You had like the Brian Cage gets released from developmental. Obviously, it wasn't the NXT brand yet, right? So maybe there wasn't as much of that. So maybe it was like, jump quickly back into it. And you think about Cal Jack, you said, like, he had just basically got fired on that series, right? I don't even remember what that series was called, that they were doing some sort of behind the scenes at the Performance Center. And you said, like, he wanted to take a break, right? And then he was like kind of getting back with you and, training and stuff like that. And maybe that kind of relit the fire, who knows? But you just think about some of these guys when they get released. And I feel like they jump right onto the indies. I mean, you could use Cody Rhodes as an example of, obviously he had his list of guys he wanted to work with. And I often listen to the Deathmatch King that he calls himself now on the indies. But you hear these guys like talking about how they're jumping right back in, right? They want to make a name for themselves, and in an effort a lot of times to maybe impress WWE, right? Hey, I got released, about Drew McIntyre and things like that. They go and they prove, right, that I'm a commodity, that people are watching my stuff, and um, I'm going to be more valuable when I come back. But then you wonder, like, if you take a break from it, are you missing out on some of that buzz that you might have, um, you know, I don't know, to earn money. You talked about Shotzi just kind of jumping right in, right? And you got to think, oh, this person was just on TV. This is going to be somebody that people are going to pay money to see, and what a great opportunity to jump right back in, and potentially you might even make more money on the indies right after you get released than you were while you were working for WWE. Who knows?
Well, that's what she was saying, and it's like I said, you got to strike. You got to strike while the iron is hot. I also saw. I mean, just before we started recording this, she's going to be taking on Matt Cardona, and it's like a King of the Indies thing. So she's already found a way right away. She took no break. She's already found a way to kind of already brand herself and jump back into the Indies and just really start going for it. And that's the thing with these young wrestlers out here. We always talk about it, like, what can you do that somebody else can't do, and what are you willing to do that's going to help another company to sell some more tickets, or what are you willing to do that's going to be able to go on your social media, that's going to catch you a buzz or possibly make you go viral. I was talking to you earlier about it, Netflix Power Moves with Shaq. And Shaq, when he first signed with the Orlando Magic, was signed by Reebok. And Allen Iverson was also signed by Reebok. And I think Iverson was like number 4 on the list. Jordan was 32 with 32 different brands of release shoes that sold well. And Iverson was number 4 on the list behind Kobe and maybe LeBron with Reebok, 17 different brands of shoes, which he's still with Reebok today. It was a lifelong partnership, but Shaq and some silent partners, he's been saying it for 10 years, he has bought in Reebok. And now Shaq is the president of Reebok. And now he's brought Allen Iverson in as the vice president. And I'm just watching this series go along, and it just reminded me of, we as indie bookers, right? We as independent wrestling bookers, a lot of times we create our own talent at our own school because trying to pick up other talents, trying to, like we were just talking about, Shotzi's hot. She's going to drop in here at Hood Slam where she trained at Stoner U. She's going to, the GCW. She was talking about MLW. She's working with Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. And a lot of times it's hard to book outside talent to bring in and really work a program or get multiple bookings out of these guys, because they're all over the place wrestling, or something else pops up, or a lot with these young guys. They're double and triple booking themselves, and sometimes we find it as promoters where we are the ones that get the phone call that says, "Hey, man, I double booked myself." Not that I have a double booking. We get the call saying I double booked ourselves. So I mean, I'm just watching. They have a budget, so they're going out here, and at first they were like, let's try to sign a superstar guy to really make the shoe for and brand it out. And as the series goes on, you're seeing like it turns into, nah, let's get people in the D League, let's get people in the Summer League, let's get the WNBA. Let's really focus on Angel Reese, who's hot in the WNBA. And that's what makes me think about like all the wrestling that's going on right now. And I know you've dealt with it in your bookings too, but you get somebody and you really start pushing them and trying to do something with them, and you're, for my sake, you're generating bigger audiences, you're running to bigger towns, you're paying guys money, you're doing a lot of production for them. but you're also fighting with the number one thing that we fight with is there's so much wrestling going on. Just not across the United States, but right here in this area that we run in with these guys. There is so much wrestling going on that it becomes extremely hard unless you use your own talent that you've created, trained, and developed yourself to get enough consistent guys to make all your shows, to make a difference with what you're trying to do.
Right. And we've talked about in the past how there is definitely that issue with loyalty, right? And it can work in a positive or a negative way, right? If you're the person that these people are loyal to, then obviously it works in a positive way for you, because then you're able to use these people over and over, and you're able to have them in storylines, and you know they're going to be there and things like that. But it works as a detriment as well if their loyalty is to another company, right? And I've talked about this over and over. Like I thought, like at the beginning of my career, like Big Ugly was the guy that gave me like my first shot. Like, hey, I'm going to have you on my show month after month. So there was loyalty there. And I always thought, like, if he needed me to be there, then I would be there. Right. But even he's talked about how the goal is to get the people that you're booking a bigger opportunity somewhere else. Right. You want them to be loyal, but you also want them to have a bigger opportunity somewhere else. So I think being humble enough as a promoter to go, yeah, you've got a better opportunity somewhere else, right? You talked about Journey Fatu in the past. Even though he was supposed to be working with you and you were pretty excited about it, making that happen. He called you, and this is what you expect. You expect someone to call you and to go, hey man, here's the situation. I've got a better opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of that. I just wanted to, talk to you man to man and let you know what was going on, right? And you can respect that, especially if you truly believe that the opportunity they're getting is a better opportunity than what you're giving them. But I feel like in a lot of cases, what you're doing at PCW with providing, promo photos, stock footage, entrance videos, edited and, matches with commentary and all this stuff, you definitely feel like the production value that you're putting into this has a much bigger value than other places, so that's where, you have to kind of go, am I providing a better opportunity because I'm giving you all of this stuff than another promotion that you're maybe more loyal to, that you've been working with since you were young, and I can see that as a young wrestler, right? I remember the journey of getting recruited as a basketball player, and a lot of people were like, oh, why did you sign? Because I signed to go to UC Santa Barbara first, before I ended up coming to Nevada. But it was one of those things where this was the first college coach that believed in me, right? That offered me a scholarship. So there's something about that. The first person that believes in you, that's special, that builds a little bit of that loyalty. Whether, for me, having opportunities at bigger schools didn't trump the fact that this guy was the first person that believed in me as a basketball player and thought I could play and things like that. So there's got to be a little bit of that within the pro wrestling business as well. The first person that gave you an opportunity sometimes has a bigger part in bookings as far as loyalty is concerned than maybe realizing the opportunities you're getting somewhere else. Whether that is the production stuff, the stuff that you do for your YouTube channel and getting things out there. The way that we look at it is you're able to use that as a tool to get those bigger bookings, right? Check out this match. It's not just going to be in the backyard with with a phone camera, right? It's going to be multiple camera shoot. It's going to be switching. It's going to be commentary. It's going to be entrance video. It's going to be lights and sound, and it's going to be the whole package, right? So you have to kind of try to weigh that, I think. And I think some people are having a little trouble with that.
Well, I mean, it's not trouble. You make your own decisions. And yes, I have a vision and I believe in my product and I believe what I'm doing. I have since I was 17 years of age. And I've gone through a lot of shit. I was a 17-year-old kid with grown adults that I ended up becoming friends with talking shit about me since I was 17, whether it be on dial up internet, AOL, Messenger, ICQ. No matter what, as time has processed and progressed and moved along, and I think it's like a lot of people. There's always been a lot of hate that has come my way, and everybody's way. John Cena and Vince McMahon get ridiculed, but I always said, like, man, I dealt with that when I was 17, 18 years old from guys I looked up to in the wrestling industry. So there's not really much you can say to me that I'm going to go into my room and start crying over. You know what I mean? So yeah, I believe in my product and I believe what I'm doing. And a lot of times when somebody isn't able to make it, it's not even like a ticket sale deal to me or something like, oh, we're screwed, man, because we promised the fans this. It's the work with production and graphics and all these things that we're trying to do to really keep a storyline going and a show every Saturday. And that was one of the reasons back in the day we went to Pro Wrestling Iron the weekend before, and then I went to APW. And when I went to APW, Modest and Morgan and Massaro and Bison and all those guys had left and started up in San Leandro just down the road. And I went to APW and I was like, oh, it was different. I was there one previous weekend, then I went to this one. The production was better. It was ran more professionally. They were nicer and more accommodating. I had Oliver John, AJ Kirsch, Scotty Aboot. I had talent that we took down there, and I saw a good opportunity for us while we were down there. And I remember when I left, I remember so many people, because I was just starting to get on airplanes and I just started getting my name out there, and I started getting more and more bookings. And I had like 4 or 5 flights and bookings out of the country. And I had a lot of money lined up. I was 24 years old. And I always have people tell me, you walked away from this. And they said, and I just realized this today, and I wanted to tell you, like they said, you walked away, you could have made it, you could have been a big star. And for years I said, yeah, you're right, I could have been. But I didn't fuck up because I have my own vision. But I wanted to tell all those people for over all these years that said I walked away from this, what everybody wants, and I could have made it. I say, talent wise and athletic wise and everything, like, yes, I did have the talent, and the right people did see the talent. But I wanted to say, as I've gone through this recovery, no, I couldn't have made it. And that's a hard thing for me to say. And it's not because I didn't have the drive and the talent and the training and all that, because I came back here and I still do it today. It's because I didn't want to get on a fucking airplane. I had anxiety on airplanes. I didn't want to get on airplanes. I didn't want to be across seas. I didn't want to travel. When I was doing this for a living for a couple years, I didn't like it. I didn't like motels, dragging my bags. I didn't like that stuff. So when people say, man, you could have been a big star, I now can honestly look this camera, this phone right here, and look at you and say, no, I couldn't have. Because where you guys were traveling around, you and Adam and Malachi and all these guys, Luster, trying to do this like that, I went to do it first and I fucking hated it. So I didn't have it up here to do the travel. So when people say, man, you could have made it, I go, no, I couldn't have, because I couldn't have handled the travel. I wasn't able to do that. So no, I could not have made it because I physically could not have done that. And that was a hard thing for me to admit, because when people tell you that, your ego goes, yeah, I could have been a big star. I could have been Daniel Bryan on WrestleMania. And look at Shotzi. I just keep going back to her, but man, tell me a little bit what was it like? Because I wasn't much of a traveler, man. I did travel and it sucked. But man, you got to give these guys credit, and you got to go back and look at a Bret the Hitman Hart, man. That guy was wrestling, putting it on 300 times a year for like 15 straight years for the WWF to WWE, and putting on great matches. Injured, never sick. Injured, but never took any time off. And he's on airplanes going to Germany. I mean, all these places, just traveling, and you're like, that guy right there is probably, in my eyes, the greatest example of what we all try to inspire to be.
Absolutely. And I think, you make a good point about the traveling thing. For you, it was an anxiety thing and things like that. But um, for many other people, that's the most grueling part of the pro wrestling business is the amount of travel that you're having to do. And I think about that from, going overseas and playing basketball, and just I don't know, man. Just being in situations where you're on a flight for 15 or 18 hours, and a guy, especially my size, being in a regular sized airplane seat, and it is like just can't get comfortable. And I remember like coming back, to the United States and just being like my body hurting and not knowing why, what it was, and it's like you're sitting in awkward positions for numbers of hours, and being on trains in China and how small they were. Like they're just not built for a guy my size. So just I remember sleeping on a train with other guys that were my size, right? And it was like, oh well, you have to put your rolly bag under your legs, and your legs have to be at an angle, right? Your ass comes out from here, then you're up to your knee, and your bag is in the middle right here, right? So you're almost sleeping like you're sitting in a chair, but you're laying on your back. And it's just the awkward things that we're doing, like to pursue the dream. For me it was playing professional basketball, and the things that you put your body through. And people would always be like, oh well, why don't you just play in the NBA? And it's like, well, there's differences. That's like being a successful independent wrestler and making a couple $100 at these different promotions that you're traveling to. But it's all about a hustle, man. You're busting your ass, and then you get to the NBA, and it's you've got facilities that are taking care of you and doing great things. But it's because you've got to a certain level of ability. It's like you can't just go, the Warriors need somebody like you. It's like, well, the Warriors need somebody like my body size, but they need somebody way more skilled than me to play at that level. I'm playing overseas and lower level. So, but the travel, man, is just is brutal on your body. You hear that from so many wrestlers about, it's not the bumps you're taking in the ring, it's the hundreds of miles you're traveling, squished up in a car. You're trying to make it, so you're trying to save money. So you're splitting a car 4 ways, so everyone can eat and things like that. And you're splitting a room 4 ways or 6 ways or 8 ways or whatever, and people are laying on the floor and sharing a double bed and things like that. And it's just, there's not a lot of comfort going into that stuff. And so there's definitely something to be said about being able to sleep in your own bed every night, and run your own company. And so as much as people will say you could have made it and you walked away from it, it's like there's sacrifices on both sides, right? You can make the sacrifice and you can be on an airplane or be in these cars or doing all these things, and you're going to be putting a beating on your body that way. Or you can say, oh well, I'm making a sacrifice to be able to sleep on my own bed, and not making millions of dollars and things like that. And it's like, we all determine our own, view of success, right? And for you, that's success, running your own company for 26 years and being able to sleep in your own bed every night. For somebody else, they don't want the responsibility of having to do that. They want someone to tell them, here's your itinerary, show up in this town at this time, and here's what you're going to do that night. So
It would
I
be
don't know. There's
easier.
definitely, right.
It would be easier. Like
Sure.
I've never taken the easy route. And my brother learned everything from me. And I don't mean like my brother learned like I taught him everything he knows in life. I mean, he didn't drink, he didn't do drugs, he didn't wasn't promiscuous, he didn't live the lifestyle because he looked over at his big brother and went, "That dude's a fucking idiot. I don't want to do that. That doesn't look too much fun. Looks like he's having some hard times right here. Maybe I'll stay away from this stuff." And that's smart, That's hey, I guess job well done as a big brother, man. My little brother's got a beautiful wife that's a doctor. He's got two beautiful kids who are my niece and nephew. Thank you, Adam, for that. He's got a nice house, nice life, loves his job, and so yeah. Hey, you're welcome. I'll fuck my life up so you can learn, so you don't fuck your life up. But we look at the travel and we look at all this thing, and you gotta throw it out. Hats off to the guys that want to go out there and they want to perform and they want to travel and see the world. I did enough of that growing up. My parents had me in cars taking me all over the United States, Mexico, Canada, and then I hop on these airplanes. And I'm pretty sure that's something I want to do. Is I've never been on an airplane without drinking, and now in my recovery, I don't care if um, the girl I'm talking to said, let's just take an airplane from Sacramento to San Francisco, like a 1 hour flight. See if you can do it. And I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, if I have no reason to be up in that air, so I'm not gonna take myself up into that space. And as we talk about this stuff, so Jey Uso just cleanly lost the championship to Gunther on Monday Night Raw, and I'm reading the feedback and stuff about that, and I liked it, and I'll tell you why I liked it. Because everyone's talking about Seth Rollins is going to cash in, which why would he? Why wouldn't he cash? He already came out at the start of the show with Cena and Punk. Like, why would he want to cash in for something he's already had, the secondary championship, if he's supposed to be the man? Going to cash in for that WWE championship. But, Goldberg's coming out because it's going to be Goldberg and Gunther. And I like the fact that we knew, like they knew the title was going to change hands. That's what was talked about. But it's going to be a cash in, or Goldberg's coming back. And then he just loses the belt. You know what I mean? So I like kind of what they're doing. Everyone's talking about like TKO is all about the money, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, aren't you? Aren't you all about the money? When I have my top top matches that I do, there's a lot of matches that people put in that top 5 or top 10 that they leave out, and they go, well, what about this match in AEW with this guy? Well, that guy got fucking hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put that one in my top, because those guys, whether they injured themselves or not, they were really hitting each other. They were really dropping each other unsafely on the head. They were really out there hurting each other in this match, which I'm sorry to say, but that's some Mark shit, right? If we're doing this thing that we're trying to protect the other person, and we're trying to make a living and wrestle multiple times and have a career, and you're going out there in one match for the fans to chant holy shit or something, and you're just dumping each other on the dome piece, and I'm not saying you can't do some Canadian destroyers on the apron and everything. I just see a lot of hurting shit where they like really, really hit each other or kick each other in the face, and you're like, nope, he didn't slap his leg on that one. So, like, to me, if you can go out there, in this, my opinion, but if you can go out there and piece together a good quality match and make it believable and get the fans into it without a lot of times it's hurting your friend, you know, that just means that the quality and the level of what you've learned and how you perform, it just, to me, I respect somebody so much more for their work when they don't have to go out there and hurt themselves or somebody else. And I'm not saying that accidents don't happen, but I'm just saying, like, if you know the risk is high, because we send each other shit all the time. If you know the risk is high of something, don't do it, because that 5,000 views you're going to get on Instagram isn't going to pay that bill for that broken neck. Remember, we saw the guy dive over the top rope and like this, and the girl was going to catch him, and he landed high up on his neck, and he's just unconscious on the ground. And it's like, however many views you get on Instagram, whatever the fuck, Twitter, whatever that is, isn't going to be enough to pay for that hospital ambulance ride that you had to take.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I think that there's you have a lot of people that are, I would say, you're more willing to work a stiffer style with your friends, right? Because there's always a understanding, right? I'm trying to give the fans the best best entertainment I can, and you know that I'm not trying to hurt you, right? Um, but you also know that if I do accidentally hurt you, it wasn't on purpose, right? I think of different times. Me and Corey were working at one point, and we had gone to OVW, and he dislocated his shoulder, like literally the last drill, the last the last group, and the last repetition of this entire camp, and he dislocates his shoulder. And I just remember like getting him to the hospital, and being there with him, and they got it back into place, and just like just trying to take care of my buddy. And and after healing from that, we wrestled at SPW, and he hits a crossbody from the top to the outside onto me. And he doesn't, he's trying to protect his shoulder, so he doesn't want to extend his arm all the way. So he ends up having his arm half extended, and he hits me in the face with his elbow, and busts me open, and stitches needed and all these things. But that's one of those things where it's like, damn, man, I'm so sorry, and let me pay for your medical bills. And it's something that it's a little bit more risky, right? Somebody jumping from the top rope to the floor onto you is more risky, right? But it's something that you would do with someone that you trust, right? And then an injury happens, and like it wasn't on purpose, total accident, and to the point where he's like, I need to pay for your medical bills. Like, I feel responsible, where we all know, like, this is a risk that we take. We're potentially gonna get hurt. So I definitely see that aspect. You're gonna go. I always think you're gonna go harder with your friends, right? Me and Adam always kick the shit out of each other. I would always watch, Adam and Malachi just destroy each other. But to your point, it was never like I'm gonna drop you on your head because I want to get a reaction. It was always just hard hitting in the safe areas, right? You're never gonna break someone's bones because you're hitting them with a safe forearm that makes a lot of noise, or with chops or kicks or whatever. We all learned how to hit someone in a safe place, where it's gonna sound like you're killing them, but you're not. So, but when it goes over the edge, man, it's difficult to watch. You're like, why are you taking these over the top risks when you want some longevity within this business? You think about the time, the amount of times that you and I, or the amount of time that we've been in the pro wrestling business, and I think about the few times that I've been hurt, and And I think it's because you don't take a whole lot of risk, right? You don't put yourself in situations where you can get hurt, because, for me, it was never about making a living off of this. I was never in that position where wrestling's paying for me to live my life. But it was also something that I wanted to continue to do, every weekend of every year. So getting hurt prevents you from doing that type of stuff. So you got to take those things into consideration, and the risk versus reward. I feel like the reward is definitely, just like you're saying, the reward is nowhere near the risk involved in doing some of the dangerous stuff.
Well, we know going in. That's the thing. It's already risky. Landing on our back, jumping up high and landing on our back, diving out and putting our hands down, like all these, it's already risky. And whether it's your friend or not, you're already in the ring, hungover, drunk. How many people, and I've smoked weed for years, how many people, including myself during my career, have been just high as fuck when they go out there to wrestle. I remember Adam telling Christina Von Eerie one time, because me and her went and did a little gimmick around the corner, and I remember him going, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Because she was all and he's like, "Wow, are you high?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I got high with Prime Time." And she's like, and Adam said, "Well, yeah, but he does that. He's fine. I don't have a problem with him doing that. It's you, because you're just standing here like, right now." So how many substances, how many like tired, bad days, no sleep, injuries? Not only are we already risking something very dangerous and trusting other people, but we're inebriated and hurt and tired and all these other factors and they go into already this being dangerous. And I know that everything from diving over the top and breaking my tailbone to about 9 or 10 concussions that were diagnosed and broken fingers and all this stuff, blown out knee. Every time I have hurt myself doing something, because I did take risk. I had to. When I said, "There's guys your size," and Luster and Malachi, man, we had to take risk to stand out in this big world of wrestling. But I know every time that I got hurt, I took whatever hurt me out of my arsenal. I modified and slowed down, and injuries are what toned down the lion salts and the headstand moonsaults and the dive outs over the top. I always go back to and we joke about it. You didn't really injure me with that choke slam at APW. The problem was I didn't think when I did it, because I was just so young and I was 24, 25, and I was just like, who gives a shit? I would have taken that high school boy bump with my hands under my armpits when you choke slam me. So in turn, I could have just gone up for that. Me nowadays would have been like, just punch me. Or just come in the ring and just choke slam me before I even get up there. Or just pick me up, hang me. I would have came up with something so simple that would have had 0% chance of hurting me. But instead, I go to the top rope and I'm like, you come up and grab me. And now I'm taking this lawn dart high school boy bump out to the middle of the ring, and my body's flat, like I'm sleeping on my back in my bed, and it rattled me. And it was just a bad decision, which I learned from, because years later, coming off a concussion when I wrestled Matt Carlos, you were supposed to come in and choke slam me. It was like a week and a half after I got a concussion. And I'm like, well, I know I can go out here for 30 minutes in a main event and wrestle Matt Carlos, and he's going to protect me, and I'm not going to have any concussion problems because of this. So I trust him. I trust myself. We're good. But you had to come in the way it was booked, and you were supposed to cost me. And I remember I had talked to you, and I had you punch me. So like there became a point like 15 years into my career, I got smarter. I was like, oh, yeah, just have him punch you, or have him choke slam you through the table. Don't have him choke slam you off the top rope to the arena floor onto the fucking apron, So we get smarter, man. And I do not, when I see this stuff, I completely get it. Like, I get why these guys are taking these stupid moves and taking these risks, because we all did it when we started, because you're young, you're trying to make a name for yourself. And damn it, there is so much going on right now. We have forced pro wrestling. They blame Mick Foley. That's where it started, I guess. But we blame Mick Foley. No, man, the bar has been raised so high that the fans expect so much. And the boys want to impress the boys so bad, the girls and the girls, that we're trying to top and top and top and top and top. And injuries are going to happen. And the business has just gotten to the point now where you're like, what can I do that hasn't been done? Because if you're WWE, you're like, man, we're engulfing AAA. That leaves AEW with CMLL. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we're also going to just swoop in on TNA. That's not leaving anything for AEW over here. We're going to do the WWE ID program. So now we're going to take the indie wrestlers off the program for you. So now you got your Offsprays and your Hangmans and your, I can't say Okada because that guy's mailed it in ever since they gave him millions of dollars to sign his ass. You know what I mean? But they have all this talent, right? And now they got to focus on that talent. But now you have NXT, you have Evolve, you have SmackDown, you have TNA, you have Monday Night Raw, you have pay-per-views, you have Saturday night's main events, you have Dynamite, you have Collision pay-per-views every single month. This company's running this, all this shit going on in the indies. Everyone's trying to get ID'd. They're trying to get their name out there. And I remember superstar Billy Graham saying this one time when we were at Cauliflower. Derek Sanders raised his hand. Any question said superstar Billy Graham. And Derek said, I got a question. And he said, yeah, it's you, young man. He goes, so, like, what can we do that's different that hasn't been done? And mind you, there's this girl that looks like China or Nicole Bass. I didn't know if it was a man or a woman sitting next to him, just jacked up out of his mind. I think her name was Terry or something, or Tracy. And superstar Billy Graham goes, you can't do nothing new. Everything's already been done. You cannot be original in this business. And then he stops and he looks over at Terry, who must have been staying in his room. And he goes, but Terry over here, she's different. She's special. And I just, what can we do? Like, what do you have to do to stand out? And in my opinion, in my professional opinion, Paul, I feel if you can go out here and listen to this audience and just sell and draw sympathy, and you are entertaining, doesn't mean you have to be a flippy floppy, most athletic, whatever. But if you can just go out there and entertain every crowd that you go in front of and make those people remember you just for something, that right there is going to be your best opportunity to make it in professional wrestling. Because you look at Austin, you look at Triple H, you even look at Bret the Hitman Hart, The Undertaker, all these guys. There's been some risk. There's been some terrible injuries too. But a lot of those guys, and a lot of the John Cena, the guys on top, The Rock, I can keep going with some of these names. A lot of these guys keep it very basic in the ring and are just so driven with character and emotion.
Right. Well, you're talking about John Cena, and how many, years, decades did you hear he's only got the 5 moves of doom, right? It's like, yeah, but the character, the way that he does things, the emotion that he draws from the crowd is what really puts him over the top. It's not the moves that you're doing, because, and at one point there was those really special guys that were doing the 630s and all these different acrobatic things. But then when the next phase of people started seeing that stuff, it's like, well, I'm going to be able to do that also. We've talked about the standing moonsault, right? I remember when that was like the thing, right? You saw that every once in a while, right? Maybe if Adam was on the show, you'd see the standing moonsault. But But then it was everyone decided I'm going to learn how to do that, and then it's like, even if it's not that good, if I can get over and I can land it, then I'm going to use it, right? Because that was the thing, like, that was the impressive thing to do. Oh, I can do a standing moonsault, or the running shooting star press type of thing. That was something that was a cool thing to do, and but then when everyone learned how to do it, it didn't stand out as much. It was played out, and I think about that like the DDT. You explained how the reason that you use it is to work on the head and neck, but so many other people, it is the I'm lost. Uh, what do I do? I don't know what else to do, so I'm just going to do a DDT, right? And at some point, it was a finish, right? When Jake the Snake used it, it was a finish. And you've said this about your super kick. People will come to you and say, "Hey, do you mind if I use this?" And your only question is, "Are you using it for a finish?" And when they say no, yeah, use it away, man. Go ahead, have at it, because obviously it's not as good as mine if it's not the finish, right? And
Yep.
and I think the same with me. It's like, if someone else on the card is going to use a choke slam, but it's not going to be the finish, but I know it's going to be the finish of my match, then it's completely different, right? So I don't know, man. You talk about just being able to sell and things like that, and that's the way you're going to be able to stand out. I don't think that there's any better way than that. We've talked about how many matches we see that are just so back and forth. You don't know, was there uh any worry of you getting beat during this match? Were you ever um in any type of position where the fans thought you were going to lose, or is it so back and forth that nobody technically had the advantage to that point where the other person is in danger of being beat? So if we can get to that point where you have people that are selling and doing a good job of invoking the sympathy from the fans, that's the way to stand out, since there's not that many people that are doing that right now. But as you were talking, I was thinking about the opposite spectrum. I was thinking about the heel characters, like the MJF type character, right? Uh, I haven't seen that guy in forever, but I just remember how watching AEW when they first started, and thinking like, what a dickhead this guy is, right? And it didn't have to do with, and I've talked about this before. It doesn't have to do with you cheating, right? It's just the sly, sneaky, slimy things that you're willing to do, that you go, that's a dickhead move. Why would someone do something like that? What a jerk. Stuff like that. Those type of things where you look at this guy and go, this is a real heel, right? He's not breaking character to give the fans a high five. There's no wink and a nod. There's nothing like that. It's just, I'm on this spectrum, right? I'm going heelish in every facet of the game. I'm at an autograph signing and I'm talking shit to the fans the whole time. I'm pissed off that this company wants me to come to this place and sign autographs, right? Because it's something that I just don't want to do. My character does not want to sign autographs, So
Well, that's the thing. I never was that guy. Never was the guy that would they tell you, they go, "Hey man, it's intermission. Go out there and sign autographs." I Okay, okay. Go the other way, right? Like that's what I did. Merchandise. Go out there and sell, make your money. No. Maybe if you think I'm worth money, then get my shit made and put it out there and sell it and give me a cut of it. You know what I mean? Like my job as the performer is, if it's an autograph signing and you're getting paid to do an autograph signing, then yeah, go sign some autographs and make it special like an autograph signing. I'm not just going to go out there and mix and mingle with the fans because I'm here to perform. You're coming to a show, and the illusion. I mean, when we were kids, we'd wait out there for the wrestlers to get in the car at the arenas, our old Arco Arena, whatever, and you'd see one and you'd be like, oh my God, I saw one. That's amazing. So, yeah, maybe I am old school. Maybe I am just stuck in a time, but I don't go out and mix and mingle with the fans. I don't go out during intermission, and so I never have. And it's not a egotistical thing or anything like that. It's just like when you're going to see me, you're going to see me come out the curtain to my music, and you're on this side of that barrier, and I'm on this side of that barrier, and we're going to set that boundary right away. I'm the performer, you're the fan. The second I come across this thing and I start messaging you, calling you, liking and commenting on your comments towards me, the second you tell me as a fan, happy birthday on social media, and I go, thank you so much, I appreciate it. It's not that I don't appreciate someone knowing my birthday and saying happy birthday. I've learned my whole life in this game that fans, performers. So that becomes a problem if you are allowing, and if you're one of those guys, they've been talking about it in Japan for years, like, oh, we get fans over there to house us and pay for our shit and buy us food at the Roppongi or whatever the fuck, the Ribeiro Steakhouse, which I went to and didn't get a jacket, by the way, respectfully. We can't do that. We cannot do that because that becomes the problem. The problem is you get to know these people, and then the next thing you know, they're like, hey, man, I really want to come to the show, but I just don't have the money this month. Can I get those tickets and I'll pay you later? You're not going to pay me later. You're asking for stuff for free. And you want, and that becomes a point where you get to know someone and they want and they want and they want. But speaking of that performance thing, is like, now that I'm older, now that I've been around a while, and I get it. I remember back in the day, BTW had a like 45, 50-year-old tanned up little guy with a decent physique named Lay Emperor. And I used to see him come out with that little French gimmick, and I'd watch him perform in the ring. And as a 23, 24-year-old guy who was risking his life and limb every time I stepped out there, and I thought that was the way to go. The Hardy Boys, Dudley's Edge and Christian era in the ECW era. And I'd watch him get in the ring. I'm like, this guy should retire. He sucks. And then I think about it now. I go, man, what longevity that guy had. He was probably getting paid good money by Kirk. Got to go out there. The audience, that's what first even made me notice that he wasn't as skilled or as athletic as me in the ring was. I was like, man, he's getting a bigger reaction than I'm getting, and he's doing nothing. And then I'm over here killing myself to try to get the same reaction as him. And then here I go going, oh shit. That's why. That's why he was selling all the merch. That's why he was drawing all the heat. I couldn't understand it. I was like, the fans are stupid. Why are they cheering him? Because he was just playing his gimmick and getting heat, and the babyface was selling for him. And I didn't understand that back in the day. I was like, this guy's not doing a 450 splash off the top rope. He's not tope suicido out of the ring. They're not superplexing each other. And to me, that's what wrestling was when I started, because when I got into wrestling, when I could finally start backyard wrestling on my trampoline with friends, and the idea of going to a training school happened, ECW was in full swing. I started training the year after the first ever triangle ladder match, which led to TLC. I started training a year in '99 after Mick Foley got thrown off the cell and then chokeslammed back through the cell. Like, that's what me and my friends, me and Rick and me and James, hey, that's what we saw. We were sitting down in front of the TV with the black box, watching these guys murder each other in the head with steel chairs. And that's what we did to each other. We're like, tonight I'm going to crush you over the head with a steel chair. Don't put your hands up or you're a pussy. And it's like, whoa, whoa. And then we're all just like, and then we're like, oh, oh yeah, man, this is great. And then you could knock yourself retarded with CTE, man. So, I saw it the other day. Chris Benoit, they were talking about the levels of CTE that were in his brain, and it was just recent. And they were showing the gray brain scan and the blue brain scan, and it was like the dude he was gone, man. He wasn't even Chris Benoit anymore. You know what I mean? You hit your head too many times. You see where football players do it. That movie with Will Smith, where the CTE, football players committing suicide, going crazy, and it's any sport. You whack your brain enough, guys will get punched in the street and smack their head off the concrete and have a brain aneurysm and die. People die from hitting their head on the concrete. You sent me that clip the other day. We were talking about the triangle choke and picking the guy up, and it was a perfect example in the clip because the guy's like, looks like he was holding his hand out to here's your soda, but he's unconscious, like one arm side. He's asleep, man. So we can protect each other. And for us, when I am saying a lot of this stuff to people, it is not to diss on somebody. It's saying, hey man, I was there. I took that stupid choke slam off the top rope and laid out like a coffin drop laying in bed. I suffered the effects, and it had nothing. It was not your fault at all. The only thing that you did was go along with the stupid thing that I asked you to do. So that's the only thing you were at fault, where I was like, hey, choke slam me off the top rope. And I can't even remember because I got a concussion, but you were probably like, oh, okay. Your funeral, pal. You know what I mean? And so we just have to realize that it's the entertainment aspect. And these guys, when they leave the big companies, you're hot, you're valuable. So get out there. And that's what made me think of that. And then seeing all the Shotzi stuff, because it just happened. It was just like this and that and this match graphic and that. And I'm like, man, this girl is out there. She is out there getting busy, man. She's on Ariel Wani. She's going to be facing Matt Cardona, MLW, GCW. She was at Hood Slam taking on a Dustin, and it's just like bang, 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 bang. Here she goes, man. She ain't taking a break. So I respect that.
Right. And you think that
The
that's
grit to that grind.
right. And that's obviously what you would think that you need to do, right? You need to capitalize on the popularity that you had being signed with the biggest company in the world. So I think that there's got to be a little bit of that, and I totally understand that. You're when you're working for one of those big companies, it might be the feeling might be you're going to training every day, you're working shows, appearances, all these different things. That you want to take a break, right? You get released and you're like, shit, man, I just want to kick back and relax, man, put my feet up a little bit, maybe enjoy the money that I made. But, what's next? I think that's the great question is what's next? If you're planning on continuing being a pro wrestler, I think the best opportunity is right after you get released, right? People know who you are. You can demand a little bit more money, all these things, and that's how you cushion your future. Pad your bank account a little bit more as you go to these bookings. And obviously you can be selective and taking the bookings, but you talked about Matt Cardona, and I heard he likes money. So if his date is open and the money's right, it's a yes. It's that's the way you're going to make a living being a pro wrestler is if someone's able to pay you what you need to be paid and you have that date available, that's you just say yes to that regardless, right? So
there's someone back there. There's someone back there ready for you to not show up. There's someone back there ready for you to cancel. There's someone back there ready for you to get injured. Not preaching on it, but or hoping you get injured. But someone is waiting to replace you. And if they come in and do a good enough job and they're prepared enough, you might come back and there might not be that opportunity left for you. For Big Paul, Isadora, Zach Primetime Reed, please like, share, hit that subscribe button. We're going over.